What does it mean to be spiritual? In the recent years, or maybe even a couple of decades in the world, in the Western world, this thing we call spirituality seemed to become the new age thing. Probably even before 2 decades, but more pronounced in the last decade at least, or at least the last several years, more and more as time goes by. And it's become something that it was not really intended to be, as many things that get into the Western world and become less than what they really were. The Western world tends to make things more physical, more mental than existential. So, more individualistic, more appearance based. And by doing so, it becomes more hypocritical. And I see many well-intentioned people, good people, who don't know anything about these things, about spirituality, the spiritual. And when they see that, they just turn away. And I don't blame them. So I wanted to make a video explaining or describing or clarifying what is this thing we call spiritual. First of all, spiritual is not based on any belief. It is not a belief system. It is not even a system whatsoever. It is just the basic fabric of existence of the universe. And we, being a human being, we have the capacity, apparently better than any other living creature on this planet, to detect and to connect with this phenomenon. Now, spirituality is not a religion, but religions are in some way spiritual, but in other ways not spiritual at all, just either political or dogmatic or mental, based on emotion mostly. Just believing in something and just without even knowing, without even wanting to know, without even trying to look at it more on a scientific way. And spirituality is basically a science. It was originally a science, not like the science of today that we know, physics and chemistry and all these things. It's another form of science. And it's the science of the inner world, or the unseen world, the world which is not even seen through a microscope. It's the science of waves, the science of what we call now quantum, and all these words. That is where spiritual begins, but doesn't end. It begins there and then goes all the way through the non-physical, complete non-physicality, which is our essence. And but it seems that we don't really want to. It seems that, in the world, these things are not being taught. Obviously, the educational system is gone to it's just gone. So those who feel this spiritual, quote-unquote, experience or whatever, it's basically when you're close to nature, because spiritual and spirituality always belongs to the living world, to life, to the life force, I mean. And the life force is felt more when you're in nature, when you're around trees, when you're around plants and animals and the sky and the sun and the stars and the moon and water and the elements of nature. And that tends to remind us that we are more than what we think we are. We are more than just this mind, this body. There's something more essential within us, which moves us, which is connected to the universe and the source of the universe. Some people call it God, but they make it into a character. They make God into a character. So we tend to not really use the word God much because we want to remind people that that essence is not someone like you and me. It's not someone. We are someone. Human beings are someone. We are entities. That is just the basic intelligence of the universe, which is holding everything together. And by being a human being, we have the fullest capacity to connect to that. Why would we want to connect to that? Well, first of all, to taste fully what it is to be a human being on all dimensions. And to be a fulfilled human being. Everyone wants fulfillment, no matter who you are. Everyone seeks fulfillment, looks for it in their different ways. Some look for it in the bottle, some look for it in some substances, some look for it in relationships, some look for it in money, some look for it in health and being as strong as they can be, as fast as they can be, as powerful as they can be. Some look for it in art, dance, music, painting. And, essentially we are all looking for fulfillment, one way or another. And then when we understand that we are not fully fulfilled when we have not actually allowed ourselves to connect to that source through practices, through opening of various energy junctions, energy points. See, now it becomes scientific. Now it becomes a practice. It becomes a scientific process. We understand each point, where the energy flows, what is the energy, and all these things. And so it all ties up with religion on many levels, but not all levels, because religion is an institution. It's been meddled with many times. This is the one thing that cannot be meddled with because it's all over the place all the time, and you can connect to it. You don't have to hear from somebody what it is and hear all these kind of beautiful explanations about it and just hold on to those words because you like them and because they're beautiful. And no, it's more about wanting to know and wanting to live truth, wanting to be one with truth. And it actually makes you understand religion a lot better, fully, if not fully, because now you know what it's about. When they say do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that, now you know what effect it has on your energy system and your whole life, basically. And so, since we all want fulfillment, we should understand the deepest aspects, or the deep aspects of what it is to be a human being, how this human being functions. What is the best food to eat? What is the best way to be with yourself? What is the best way to approach life, to approach others, to approach yourself, to approach nature, to approach situations? All these things are looked at when one becomes spiritual, or all these things should be looked at when one becomes spiritual. Now, I don't like how spirituality has become like a trend, not always in the positive sense. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it is not. and probably even a lot of times it is not. And it's just becoming like another religion. Like, it's like, what's your religion? Oh, I'm spiritual. That's my religion. No, it's not a religion. It's just the way the universe is, the way life is. It's not an ideology. It's just like breathing air. Like, what is your hobby? Oh, so I like to breathe air. That's my hobby. No, we all breathe air. you know, we all eat food. We all have to sleep. We all have to move. So, it's just life. It's just life. It's not a thing. It's just life. And yeah, it's just life on a deeper level than just the physical. And the physical and the mental and all these things we mentioned in the beginning are linked. They're all linked together. And even the spiritual aspects of life is linked to all of them. So they all affect one another in one way or another. So they're not isolated. The body is not isolated from the mind is not isolated from the emotions are not isolated from the energy, and the energy is not isolated from the consciousness that we are. And all of these things are not isolated from the source of life or source of creation. So to know those things and to know oneself on those levels empowers you to be who you truly want to be, to do what you truly want to do in the world, no matter what it is. It could be many things. And it just clarifies the way for you in life and makes a lot of things very clear, because now you're dealing with truth. You are not dealing with just a belief system that you like, because you can have a lot of belief systems. The Islamic belief system, the Christian belief system, the Jewish belief system, this belief system, that belief system. But when you come back to the spiritual and you leave all belief systems aside, you begin to see what really is there. No matter where you look, you can see what is really there. So spirituality is always synonymous with truth. It's also synonymous with freedom, but the freedom to look, the freedom to seek, the freedom to inquire. It takes exactly the same attitude of a scientific person, a scientist, but who is not limited only to the physicality of life or to the chemical aspect of life, but even to every other aspect of life, even the ones which all the outer five senses cannot detect, because we have other senses which are inward, which no one ever talks about in medicine or science and all these things. And so this is what it's all about. It is not a thing, it is just the basic foundation of life. That's what spirituality actually is.